The stories that we love the most, the ones that have the most profound effect on us, are those that have to do with something in our own lives that we can connect to somehow in a real deep sense. One of my favorite stories is that of the Lord of the Rings. And, sometimes I have to stop myself from preaching about it too much because I really love it. And the reason that it's so profound, I think, at least for myself, is that it's a great story that has to do with redemption and a great story that has to do with hope. And these are the stories that really impact our lives. So it has to do with this growing evil that is it just engulfing the whole world, and everything seems hopeless. Even the great leaders of the world have very little hope, and some even go over to the dark side and make allegiances with that darkness. And so the hope then resides in just these small people, literally small people, the hobbits, who they call halflings, half the size of a human being. And because of the hope that they keep and their courage and endurance, eventually that evil is overcome. It's this great story of redemption. And I think it has such a profound effect, and those stories like it have such a profound effect because we are in a great story of redemption. We are in a story that has great darkness in it, but is overcome by light in the most humble ways. The story of Jesus, of our redemption, is a story that is beautifully told in the pages of Scripture. And Mary and her Immaculate Conception are a great part of that story. Today, on this feast, we hear of the story of when evil entered the world through original sin, through the sin of Adam and Eve. When Eve listened to the serpent's lies, she then eats of the fruit of the tree of good and of the knowledge of good and evil and gives some to her husband. And they both fall into this original sin. And so everyone from that moment on is affected by this. There's great evil in the world that makes us almost powerless to do anything about it. But we have this great story of redemption that comes, don't we know? We know that this is coming. And Mary's Immaculate Conception is the first rays of hope in that. So the doctrine of the Immaculate Conception of Mary is not the conception of Jesus, but of Mary. So that it says that from the very beginning, from the very moment of her conception, Mary was free from original sin. That Mary was not, God freed her of that. And so prepared a worthy dwelling place for his son to enter through the world. It was not a necessary thing that Jesus had to be born of someone free from original sin, but it was something that was fitting. Fitting because Eve, who was called mother of all the living, she was without sin before she did listen to the serpent, before her and Adam sinned in that first way. So it was fitting then that man's redemption come through a woman who was without sin and rather chose to follow God and his will and be obedient. And so that is what we celebrate today with the Immaculate Conception, because this is the first rays of hope that God is doing something about the great evil in the world, that God will not allow evil to overcome goodness, that God, through the Virgin Mary now, has worked and said, I will go to save my own people. And so it's wonderful that this feast of the Immaculate Conception comes through in the season of Advent, because it's a season of hope where light continues to grow. We see that tangibly with the Advent wreath, and it overcomes the darkness. And so we too, like Mary, are called to say yes to God. That is where our redemption is played out each and every day. Say yes to God at every moment, being obedient to him and to how he wants to work in your life. That is how your redemption is played out, and that is how our hope is increased and how the light overcomes the darkness. Have a blessed day.